Welcome everyone to Nemcast After Hours, episode 5. I'm not going to check it. Me and Dom are getting professional at this stuff, unlike Mr. Courtney over here.
I still have to check it, even though I'm on like episode 20 now, I think.
And on the mention of Dom, for everybody who's wondering where he is, Dom unfortunately just can't get good internet. He's just, stuck with some backwater internet. I think it's McDonald's Wi-Fi, I'm not sure. But hopefully he'll be back with us next week.
Yes, and now he's stuck with me, the fucking idiot, for this podcast.
The fucking idiot that without this fucking idiot, we wouldn't have Nemesis Tactical. Nemesis Tactical wouldn't be a thing. So you can't count much of an idiot.
For better or worse for some people, we shall see. Only time will tell.
For my 8K, worse. It worked well when it was out the box.
The delivery of Jefftron should be here soon, so don't worry.
I remember you saying that a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, by the way, nice cap, bro.
Nice cap, bro. By the way, everyone, make sure to get your caps on the Nemesis Tactical merch store.
Yes, that'll be live soon. We are just waiting for a fresh shipment of caps because all the pre-order caps have now gone. So, yeah, won't be long now.
I can't wait.
Yes, won't be long at all.
So.
Yes, I've literally got one of every colour now except for the Multicam Tropic, which I might get.
I have to give this one a periodic wash like every other, well, usually a Sunday after a game day. The band at the top's starting to give a little
The reason I don't wear this light green one is because I sweat like a motherfucker, and there's like a sweaty band. Not that you can see on the camera, thankfully. There's like a sweaty band across my forehead right now, but oh well.
During game day, you can feel it, and you can definitely see them.
So, what's the plan for this podcast? What have you got in store?
I'm going to do the interview that everybody's been waiting for. The interview that nobody's seen because they've not done it. The interview of you. How you got to be Mr. Nemesis Tactical yourself?
It's utterly boring. No, it's pretty much, I'm sure it's going to be a much of a rinse and repeat of most airsoft techs out there. So do you want me to give the long story or the short story?
Oh, definitely the long story. Where did it all begin? Back in 19...
Fuck off. No, I've been teching for the thick end of about 13 years now. Must be approaching 14 years, at least 13 and a half. And it all started because I used to take my rifle to techs, and I inevitably got burnt by one, spat my dummy out, and went, I'll fucking do it myself. And here I am now. That's the short story. Now, the long story is I had an ICS Galil with the wood kit on it, so like the support variant.
Yeah.
Very nice gun. I still regret getting rid of that. I might treat myself to one day. And essentially, as all airsoft guns inevitably do, it broke. Now, I recognise what the noise is. It was a strip piston. And I went, I don't know what's wrong with this. Why no work? So I took it to my local site tech, the dreaded word, site tech, the tech who does stuff from his bedroom type thing, and went, can you make it? Yes. Please, good sir, can you fix it? And how much will it be? And he went, I don't know how much it's going to be yet because I don't know what's wrong inside of it. But I charge this much an hour, and there we are. And I went, okay, fair enough. Well, you've got my contact details. Give me a call when you know what's cracking, and we'll go from there. Will it be ready in 2 weeks' time? And he went, well, maybe it might be in a month. I went, fair enough. It is what it is. And I waited 2 weeks, no news. Towards the end of the month, it was ready. And I said, what have you done to it? He says, I've fitted some parts, some upgrades. Do you want anything else going in it before I close it back together? And I went, well, what's good and what's not? And it was when the Askew MOSFETs had just come onto the market. That's a very obscure name, so some of the more old school techs might know what Askew is. It's essentially a old school MOSFET with very limited settings, and it was all micro switches, but they were really shit, weak micro switches. So if you pulled the trigger too hard and it wasn't set right, guaranteed it would have fucked the MOSFET up if it wasn't positioned right, that sort of thing. And I went, at the time, I just went, well, what's the MOSFET? And he went, a MOSFET does this, this, and this. I went, yeah, fair enough, fit it. How much is it? He says it's about 100 quid. But yeah, okay. At this point, the bill was at like 250 quid.
Okay.
And the time came round. I came to my airsoft game day, and the rifle was ready. Obviously, I'm super fucking ecstatic. I've got my favourite rifle at the time because I'm sort of an AK man, so a Galil was weird and different because not everyone had one.
AK supremacy,
and
we don't want them.
Yeah, and I took it out and I couldn't hit a fucking barn door with it. and it sounded like a bag of dying cats. Is the only way I can describe it. It was screechy as all fuck. And I went, something's not right. I didn't know what the fuck was. I was still using Nimmies. It was that sort of era when lipos weren't really a thing. There was one guy who had lipos, and there was scary new technology.
Was it scary, like they're going to burst, or is it scary that I've never used this? I don't know what it's like yet.
The rumor back in the day was lipos will blow up your gun, and at the time I had no knowledge of that sort of stuff. I just at the time it didn't interest me, so I had no reason to learn it or look into it any further. So I went, yeah, fucking not using lipos, and if they might blow up my gun, I just want my gun to work. So I stuck my Nimmies, took it back to the guy anyway, and he went, "Oh, don't worry, it's just this problem." I went, "Yeah, whatever this is, the problem, fix it. That's fine." 2 weeks time go by. Bearing in mind for the rest of the day I had to use a pistol because I paid for the day.
You're not going to
2
leave
weeks.
Early. It's broken. You're going to hope for a rental.
I've paid my fucking money. I'm using a pistol, which was an AEP Glock, so it was a heap of shit. Proper zap with the built-in battery. Made me sad. Anyway, 2 weeks 2 weeks go by. I'm there for the next game day, ready to collect my rifle. Rifle's here. Yes. Take it out for one game. Same battery. I even lent him the battery. Said he'd charge it for me. Took it out for a game. Something stripped. I now know again it was the piston, which was the previous problem. And I went, I took it back to him. He says, "Oh, here's your bill for the repair, by the way." And I went, "Well, it's still broken." But, "Oh, it's going to be a piston then, by the sound of it. We'll get it changed." I was like, okay, things happen. No one's perfect. Gave it him back. Benefit of the doubt. 2 weeks time again, gives it me back with another bill. So this is the third time round with a third bill, and I sort of went, "Why am I literally said to him, "Why am I paying you again? Because it's surely some warranty now."
Can't do anything about it.
And this was before chronos were really strict. If the site tech said it was good, it was good. It was good to go. So I had no idea what it was fucking firing at. Now, knowing what I know now, big no. And yeah, I took it out for another game. Screechy as fuck, come to the barn door, and I went, I'm done. I nearly gave up airsoft. I very nearly just went, I'm fucking done. Because this is what happens to some people. I've spoke to a few people. They've said, my rifle's just not worked. Everything's always broke. I give up.
It was me on my first game day of getting my own rifle.
Yeah, it happens to people. Except for I've already been playing since, I've been playing since I was 13. So I've been playing for a good 8 or 9 years at least, if my math's right. I'm not very good at math. And calculator go brr. And
you're the only one who can do duels to FPS.
No. I went home that evening and I went, I might just not bother going to the next one. Because I used to go religiously every 2 weeks. I missed the next one, didn't bother going. I went, I've got the itch. After you've not played for a while and you start to get the itch, you need to just go and get out there and play, even if it's just for the social.
Yeah.
So I thought, can't be that hard to fucking do. I'll go on YouTube. There was fucking nothing on an ICS Galil. Nothing. I went, I'll just wing it. And after about 6 hours, I managed to get in the gun. I went, this is fucking far too unpleasant. Opened the gun up, spring went everywhere, shims went fucking everywhere. I thought, getting somewhere now. And I actually put the gun back together, and I think with missing shims, it was probably badly shimmed at the time. But it didn't make a screechy noise because there was no shims to make it fucking too tight. So that was fine. I replaced the obviously broken part, which was the piston. I actually went to fire support. I drove to fire support because I didn't like the internet very much back in the day. And I went, this is broke. Do you have them? And they went, here is a thing. And I went, thank you for the thing. And then left. Got the part, fitted the part, and here I am now. Because I thought, well, I did the first one. I'll do the second time it breaks. And then I got a second gun. And that broke, and then I fixed that. And then I went, can't be that bad. I'll buy a broken one. Because people used to be back in the day, your rifle would break and you'd never know a tech. No one knew any techs. No one knew anywhere that did it.
It's still the same now. Very few people that I know of a tech. So I always, give the service
back in the day, this is when Justin, who now runs the goal, ran MCG, or formerly MCG. It was first and only Matlock back in the day.
Okay.
And you used to get like 80 players, maybe 120 players on a sunny day, and there'd always be someone wanting to sell something or swaps. You could guarantee if someone said, "Oh, my gun's broke," you'd hear it over the next game brief. "Oh, my gun's broke." The next game, he'd have a different gun because he swapped it with fucking some other bloke who knows how to change a piston, but he's now got a gun that works, so he didn't give a shit. And that's essentially what I thought. Well, maybe I can get a broken gun at a reasonably cheap price. I didn't want to rip anyone off, but I went in pretty low. I went, "How much do you pay for it new?" And "I'll give you 50% because it's broke."
Yeah, it seems
Got
fair
another gun, and it was an ICS split gearbox M4. And then started learning on that. And it was just a gradual thing where I thought, I've been doing this long enough, maybe I could start taking work on. And that was must have been about the sixth year of me just fixing my own shit. And then Greg, my sponsor player, Greggles Weggles, he actually had a broken AK. My mate Connor went, "Greg's got a broken AK, can you fix it for him?" And I went, "Well, yeah, I'll charge him for my time, and if it doesn't work afterwards, then I don't charge him." And I think it was 60 quid all in, including the parts. And it was a piston. I shimmed the gears because at this stage I discovered the airsoft tech, which is an excellent source of knowledge. He hasn't uploaded for 3 or 4 years now, but he's an American chap who he had the tech tips. You could go on, you could figure out how to shim, you could figure out what was an acceptable piston, what wasn't, how to AOE at the time, all this different information. So I'd got this core knowledge of information in my brain, and I went, yeah, I could do it. And I did a good job. It ran fine until Greg literally smashed it against a tree and snapped the front end off, but that's a different story.
Okay, we're getting Greg on for that story.
Yeah. And I carried on just doing the odd cash in hand job. It was just occasionally when one came across the bench and I went, yeah, I can do it. It's going to be cheap. I charged I think it was, when I was really getting into it, I charged £60 for whatever the build was. So if they wanted a MOSFET fit in, or if it was like a full build with shimming and everything, it was £60. That was it. Because I know I could spend up to a day and a half on it, which I enjoyed doing. But at £60, it's no skin off anyone's nose. And if it wasn't right or I couldn't fix it, I'd just keep going until it was fixed.
And I'm guessing that was at their cost for the parts as well. So like £60 flat rate for me to work on it.
Yeah.
You pay for the part.
I was at the stage where I knew I could do a job and give them a working gun back. That didn't sound like a bag of cats,
Yep.
And things progressed. And then COVID happened. And I thought, well, I've got nothing better to do. I may as well register a business. And here we are now. And it's only over COVID that I really, really went autistic levels of knowledge with my tech work. I've still got loads to learn. I'm not the best tech in the world. We
won't be saying that. We will be saying you are the best tech in the world.
Well, it's every day's a school day. I always learn something new. I do know how things work incredibly well now, thankfully. I understand tappet plate timing and brushless motors, all that sort of thing. I can do a DSG build without sweating too much. But there's always something new to learn. So, I'm simply not the best tech in the world. There's going to be someone better in the UK. But I can hold my own and I can give a good warranty. And that's where I am now. And I'm nearly at the stage where, I am at the stage where I could go full time. But I simply don't, because I have a concern in another business. So I have 2 jobs. So I work my normal job from 6 a.m. till 2 p.m. at the minute, then 2 p.m. till 8 p.m. in this little workshop. And that's how I am. And that's why I have no hair anymore, and I always look haggard. And I probably drink too much because of it, but
you're no drinking hype at the moment tonight.
To be fair, I've had a beer tonight. I'm allowed a tin of beer because I've just recorded a podcast with Neg and it went on for 2.5 hours. It was great fun, but I thought, it's getting late now. But
so does that mean we're going to be able to get you on a drink on Saturday? Friday.
I might have a pint, but I'm not going to do too much because I think if you drink to get drunk, then it's no longer fun. So that's what the sort of mantra I'm going for.
We're getting you drunk.
But anyway, so yeah, Nemtac was sort of just a business in itself for the past sort of 3 years now. And then I started the YouTube channel, which is still tiny. The fact that I'm sort of chatting to you about how I've started is very it doesn't feel right to me because I'm nowhere. No one's going to give a shit. No one's going to give a flying fuck.
We
But
do.
It's at least if someone says, "How do you start up?" I can say, "Just go watch that video." It saves me a 20-minute conversation that's going to bore them.
I mean, for you, it sounds more like it was an idea that then just slowly became.
I essentially turned my hobby into a job because I enjoyed it, and I think most people can do that if they wanted to do airsoft teching. But I will say, if you're going to do it, and like I spoke to Luke the other day about it, don't charge. Don't charge for your work unless you're confident that you can give them a perfectly working rifle and it will be just as serviceable as most other techs out there. Don't fucking charge them. It's going to take years to get good experience. It's taken me 13 years to get to the point where I think I can slap a good warranty on that and give it to someone for a year. It's going to be fine before there's any the O-rings dry out or whatever the case is.
The wiring goes.
Yeah, or the AK
literally
wiring
over a year.
Yeah, it's literally from the selector plate moving up and down. It's worn through the heat shrink. I've never known that.
I knew something was going to go soon on it. I just had that feeling in the back of my mind. I was like,
you use the fuck out of your guns. You really get your money's worth
every weekend.
So it's actually a good way to stress test things, isn't it? But it's one thing I've learned from having the business and all that is to have the humility to go, I am not the answer to everything. I specialize in AGs. I really think if you run GBBR, you need to know how to maintain your own shit, purely because you need to maintain it after most game days. It's just the nature of the beast.
See, I mean, that slightly leads me on to a question that I did want to ask, and I have asked you in the past, and you've kind of just brushed it off. I know you've been busy at the time, but you've been a site tech before. I know that you've told me in the past you've been down to MCG and just been there literally to sort people's problems.
Yep, I had a gazebo, which was not a massive one, but it was big enough for me to work under in the dry with a table, and I'd just sort rifles.
See, I find I'm not a tech. If you put a gearbox in front of me, I'm going to go, don't know what that is. But if somebody comes up to me with a small problem, I can sometimes fix it or suggest them to yourself, obviously. What were the most common problems you found when you were doing site teching?
Back in the day when I first started doing it on a sort of... It's a time-sensitive topic, really. Because when I was sort of on-site teching, G&G had really gone into the swing of the built-in MOSFETs. You know where G&G M4, you pull it off and there was the little red MOSFET thing in the back?
Yeah.
It had the built-in ETU. They were burning out like fuck at the time. So if you fucked with it, just go from semi to auto to make it semi to 3-round burst, it would just break the MOSFET like that. So that was where a bulk of my work came from at the start. It would fuck the MOSFET. And then I developed like an Ares-esque level of hate for G&G because it was constant. Every MOSFET that came across, it'd be the G&G burnt its MOSFET out, and then you go in the gearbox because you may as well service it while you're in there to change the loom because you have to go in there to unplug it to get a replacement back. If that was the case, or you went for a gate tighten at the time, it would have the G&G brass bushings, which turned into fucking gold dust. They're just shit. They were self-lubricating and they were just wank. So that was the most common thing across my bench at the time. I'd get some support guns, I'd get the occasional AK, but if it wasn't a G&G at the time with the MOSFETs, for a good year was just G&Gs. I'd also get the strip pistons, was a common fault. That was more often than not common fault. And the really old guns, it'd either be a strip piston or it was one of them indestructible plastic pistons that wouldn't fucking break. But the bushings had worn and the axles, the gears was all off. And the more common thing is going to be, how to describe it, the current thing. So the current problem. So at the time for me, like I said, it was the G&G. It might be that your local site sells fucking Ares constantly. So the most common problem you're going to come across coming into Ares is fucked up motors on the Ares because they have so much active braking, it burns the armature out. It varies from site tech to site tech. The more often than not, though, it will be a strip piston or a drop motor height, something simple.
See, I've I've slightly become at Black Hills like one of the people that people will just go, oh yeah, go see Elliot. He might be able to tell you something, because otherwise most of the other people up there HPA, if they're regular users, they're either HPA or they're completely happy just using stock rifles, which completely fine. Have your fun. That's how you want to do it.
Yeah.
We both know I'm a bit of a competitive knobhead when I want to be, so I like to be able to go. But a lot of the younger kids come up to me with like JGs. I don't think I've seen a G&G yet, but I've seen like JGs, all the cheaper brands. The Nuprol one was a weird one. I've never seen a Nuprol Defender in person. I just assumed it was the most dog crap of the dog crap. I don't really assume Nuprol to be much good on many things, but they kind of get through the...
They slip the net occasionally and people buy them.
But yeah, a lot of them seem to always have like crap barrels. Like one kid has literally came up to me, he dropped it on the floor and the end of the barrel had kind of meh. I don't want to say it had bent completely, but like it had a slight curve to it. I'd never seen it.
Yeah, at that stage, you either buy a whole front barrel assembly off eBay, or it's normally a good source for like external barrels, weirdly. Or you just say, just go buy a new one and sell it as spares and repairs. For how cheap some of them are nowadays.
A lot of hot rubbers that I've seen as well. Like, I don't know if kids are just literally picking up dirt and putting it through their barrels or what, but it's like
you'll find a lot of hops, and this is especially a problem with new rifles, is when they're building the gearbox in the factory, especially at a cheaper place, they'll fill the piston with silicone grease or something to that accord, and it will get all over the piston head. When the piston head slams into the cylinder head, it sends grease down the air nozzle and onto the hot rubber. Now, if you get grease or silicone grease, whatever it might be, on that hot rubber, you've got no accuracy. CBB start to fucking just... So you'll clean the barrel. You'll clean the barrel to alleviate the problem, and it'll be fine for a mag. And then that grease is coming back. And then you think, So at that stage, normally what I used to do if I had a problem like that is I would strip the upper from the lower, hop and barrel, if it's an M4, take the hop and the barrel out, clean that properly with an unjamming rod, just get an earbud, or for the US guys, a Q-tip, and just, if it will go down, just gently clean down the air nozzle, and then that will remove any excess silicone from coming down there. You can drop it back together and it's good to go, within reason, unless it's obviously a torn hot rubber, which is... It normally happens on older guns. It doesn't tend to happen on new guns.
Did you ever, whilst you were doing the site tech stuff, did you ever have like that small box of, right, I'm not going to, say if you were going for a normal game day to play for yourself, would you ever just have that small box next to you that was, had the spares and repairs bits, if that makes sense? Like if something simple goes, did you ever have like a couple of hot rubbers in a box or even a spare motor?
When I first started, I used to say, right, I'll take it away and work on it. And when I got very confident, I went, no, I can do it on site easy enough. And I started building a little toolkit. And I'll make a long story short, I will go over what the toolkit used to be, roughly. But to make a long story short, just don't do it on site. Do yourself a favour. Just say, right, leave it with me. I'll get it done. I'll liaise with you. Make sure you've got the customer's contact details. Carry some tags with you. So like the little cardboard tags that you get on presents with a bit of Hessian rope that you can just tie around, put through the trigger guard and label it with the number, and get that rifle, put it in the boot of your car and think, right, I'll sort that when I'm at home and not under pressure. So you can have time to properly test it. Yeah. But if you insist on taking a toolkit onto site, even if it's your own shit, at minimum, you're going to need a screwdriver set. You know, the one with the interchangeable heads? So you can get posi drive, hex drive, whatever it might be. Torx drive, should I say.
You get 36.
Yeah, you can get them off AliExpress easy enough. That will get you out the shit. A long screwdriver that's posi, preferably, or Phillips, because most buffer tubes require one. A long ass screwdriver to get down that buffer tube. Because the most are going to be M4s, and you're going to need one. And a cleaning rod and some paper towel. Just because you're going to have to clean barrels. A gas soldering iron, that's a good one. Just you can get these off Amazon or whatever it is. It's like a travel soldering iron kit. Little gas bottle, you put propane in the bottom of it. and you have to manually light it, and then you've got a gas soldering iron so you can do your soldering on site. A bench, if you can carry one. Like Nuprol, if I'm not mistaken, do a little fold out bench with like a toolbox attached to it, so you can work on stuff on site.
Okay.
So you could do soldering and things like that, and get yourself a little vise. It just helps. Just have the basic necessities. Whatever you have in the workshop, you need to have on site, but fit it in a toolbox. So multi-chain screwdrivers, gas travel soldering iron, a tiny little vise just so you can clamp a Dean's connector. A little packet of shims, so you can buy the shims and they come in like a little baggie. Just keep one of them in there. Set of tweezers, the basics, and then if you need to, carry spare components. So a couple of different ranges of pistons, because not all pistons are going to do the same. If you can, prepare them ahead of time. So get your decent piston head, attach it to the piston, do the short stroking. If you've got a second tooth there, that needs to be removed. Do the basics, get prepared ahead of time. A couple of different springs just in case, or some nips so you can clip the spring if it's too tight, and something that can bend the spring into shape, because you're no good clipping a spring and just leaving it sticking like that. You need to get it flat like they are out the factory. I could give you a comprehensive list and there'll be something you're missing. I guarantee it. Because the problem you'll have is you'll work different to I will. And Negative Airsoft will work different to I will. Sam Liggett at Kingdom of Airsoft will work different to what Neg will. It's swings and roundabouts. Everyone's going to have different tools, different preferences.
It's something that I'd love to ask Neg as well. I mean, at some point, if I ever do speak to him, actually get to speak to him, I think I would ask him the same questions.
He will tell you.
I'll never go that far.
He'll tell you don't do it on site.
Yeah, I've
actually asked him. I wouldn't
even go as far as getting into a gearbox. I think if I go to anybody now, or if anybody comes up to me and asks me for any help, it's like the most I will do is I will take the upper off the lower and sort anything that's hop unit forwards. I'd like to say anything gearbox, I just turn around and go take it back. Either return it if you can, if not, here's a card, here's a sticker. You're not going to forget this person.
Yeah, that's a good method. That is a good method. But if you're really determined to do stuff on site, like you said, rightly so, by all means take on hop units on site. That's fine.
Yeah.
Just make sure you do it either in the boot of your car, and the boot of your car is clear and clean. So if you drop a hop knob, it doesn't fuck off into the ether.
I think we still got a video of my BBs after they went around in my boot.
Cue edit now.
It's going in.
But either that or a nice big bench with like a rim around the edge. So if you do drop anything, it starts to roll off. It's caught on the edge of the bench. And just take on hop units. That's fine. You can do hop units on site, because more often than not, if it's a torn hop rubber, it's a nice, easy change. Yeah. Carry a few spares, set of tweezers, little flathead screwdriver so you can get the clip out. Maybe even a couple of spare hop units. You never know.
Yeah.
Obviously, AK hop units, things like that, you're not necessarily going to be able to do on site. But M4s, things where you can split the upper off the lower, piece of piss.
Yeah.
If you think it's something too big to do on site and you're not confident in doing it, take it home. I can't stress that enough. Take it back to your workshop, wherever it might be. Take the time to do it. Update the customer and liaise with them. If you don't, it's going to end in tears. So
I personally couldn't see myself doing any tech work inside a gearbox. I know way too little, even after watching the videos. It just in one ear most of the time, out the other. Some of it sticks, most of the time not. But to anybody else who's planning on or would plan on doing such a thing on their sites, at least they can now hopefully refer to this video and say, no, Courtney says take it home, or advice from good tech, take it home, work on it on a nice clean space. Don't do it on site. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you can as well, another thing that will be incredibly helpful for a learner is record it as you go. So just get your camera phone, prop it up, preferably above you, so you've got like a top-down view of the gearbox, and do it all on video, or at least take pictures at each step. So if you forget how something goes, you have a record of how to do it. That will help you more than anything, because at least you can work back. So if you say, well, it's working well before, I've done a thing and now it doesn't work, I'll just refer to my pictures and my video. That's what I've done, and now it doesn't work. So that'd be another piece of advice I could give. It's that, you know, I'll help where I can. And if you're really struggling, don't be afraid to reach out to someone who's actually a tech, because more often than not, most people who do tech work have a bit of not a passion, that's the wrong word for doing it, but they enjoy doing the tech work, and they're a little bit autistic about it, and they genuinely have fun when they're doing it, and they'll
Just a
happily
little bit.
advise you. If they're not happy to advise you and they won't help you at all, then don't go to them. They're not good people. If they're not happy to advise someone within reason, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit on the phone for 2 hours and guide you through how to build your fucking gearbox. But if you say, the rifle sounds like shit, it's really screechy, I'll say to you over the phone, it's probably going to either be your motor height, that's how you adjust it, or your shimming. Here's a video as a source. You know, don't be afraid to ask people. I think that's the least I could say in that regard.
Yeah.
Also, don't forget, check out our current discount code with Warhead. So, Elliot, if you could pull it up, stick it across the bottom of the screen like that, make the moving thing move.
Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Where's it gone? It's there.
There we go. So use code Courtney M5 at Warhead for 5% off. So that's capital C and capital M, Courtney M5, and you'll get 5% off with Warhead. So that's with the BBs or the motor. Now the motors are good. I highly recommend using the motors. They're good brushless motors, and the BBs especially fantastic quality. So save yourself a few quid. Use that 5% discount code. It's only viable to the end of the month.
Yes. Get on it, boys. Get all the BBs. Get them all for cheap as well. Decent quality.
So I think that pretty much rounds off my boring little story of how Nemtac was set up. There's not really much more to go over. I've got a tiny workshop, 3D printers that are running most of the time, resin printers, because nerds. And yeah, it's pretty much all I can say, really, dude. There's not much going on.
Slightly offended by being called a nerd, but I'll take it at the same
time.
I'm
a nerd as well, so it's, you know.
We're all big, fat, sweaty nerds playing toy guns in the woods at the end of the day.
Yes.
That's why we can't take it too seriously.
Exactly.
But thank you for coming on, Court.
Yeah,
thank you for filling in for Mr. Dom. You've been fantastic. Slightly less haired, but absolutely fantastic either way.
Yeah. And if necessary, I'll come on for the next one. It's not a problem at all.
I'm thinking Mr. Greg.
Yeah, by all means, get Greg on and just let him go.
Off Greg. Yep, and we just
let him go.
I'm just not even going to give him a topic. I'm just going to one word it, half an hour of Greg talking, because we all know it can happen. Yeah, I might even put 50p in and put, you know, a pint in front of him first.
Yeah, I'll get him a can of beer, stick that there, and you just go Hollow Earth, and then just watch him go. And it's like sticking 50p in, as Neg says, and then off he goes.
We're gonna have to put a lock on your door and just kind of leave him in the workshop. Camera to monitor that nothing's getting broken, but I think Greg would happily just sit there with a couple of pints, go for anything. So, but thank you very much, Cole.
No,
thank you very much, guys, for watching. Make sure to leave a like, leave a comment in the comment section saying how fabulous Courtney is, and if you've actually had any work done by him, please put a comment in the bottom, just saying how you found it, how you found the whole experience. Because I've gone to Courtney and I've gone to a shop for a repair, and I know which experience was a lot worse.
Now I've said that, I'm going to be autistically checking the comments for an actual review, because I won't be able to sleep now. Thanks for that.
Yes. Thank you, Court. Right. See you later, chaps.
Cheers, chaps.